DIRT TRAX TV is sponsored by Polaris, think outside. Can-Am, follow your path. Yamaha, revs your heart. And by Honda Power Sports, power your dreams, whatever the terrain.
What's something that's pretty hard to find nowadays in terms of the ATV industry? You know, the number one thing that comes to my mind is a reasonable price tag. If you're looking for a one-up single-seat ATV, you want capability with a full-size chassis and bodywork, you want a reliable engine that'll get the job done, from work around the house to pulling out a harvest or just heading out on the trail to have some fun, and of course you gotta have four-wheel drive. What's your options? Well, there are a few. Now add in aluminum rims, a factory-equipped winch, premium painted plastics for a reasonable price, like under $7,000 American or under $9,500 Canadian. Uh-oh, all I can hear is crickets. Well, almost. And thankfully, Argo has come out with a full-size 500 class ATV that gives me all of those previous requirements in a very attractive package. And yes, it is even four-wheel drive, and the price is probably going to surprise you. Powered by a single overhead cam 443cc EFI liquid-cooled engine, the XR 500 SE has more than enough power to take you anywhere you want to go. Now, because it's an efficient 500 class engine, it's also incredibly good on fuel. While Argo doesn't give torque or horsepower numbers, we believe it produces around 32 horsepower, which is right in line with its competition. So how is the power, you might ask? It's actually very good, and that's coming from a guy who's used to the Parallel and Big V twins. And when it comes to the full-size chassis, I don't feel like I'm sacrificing size for price. And that's really my issue with many ultra-low-cost ATVs. You get low cost, but in a small-size platform. Or you get a full-size platform, but with an underwhelming engine. Or you get an adequate engine in a full-size chassis, but no four-wheel drive. It's always been a dartboard of options, but you just don't get enough that hit the bullseye. Now let's keep in mind that at this price tag, you are not going to get everything, but you do get a lot. And most importantly for me, is all of my requirements. While I expected to get a very bald-looking set of tires on the XR 500 SE, I was pleasantly surprised that although being 24 inches tall, they are a very nice, aggressive set of Kenda bear claws wrapped on a really stylish set of 12-inch aluminum rims that do not leave me in want. Up front, I've got a 3,000-pound winch installed right from the factory with handlebar-mounted controls, and as you can't help but notice, the bright orange painted plastics that glisten in the sun thanks to their premium paint and not stickers that will not wear off or fade as the years go by. So what is missing, you might ask? Well, in this price ranging category, Argo decided to go against the trend and what every other manufacturer is doing. All of the other competition says no to the nice rims, no to the winch, and no to the upgraded premium painted plastics, and make a step up from the base model with just power steering. They also tend to run at a minimum of $1,200 over the base model cost just for that added power steering, and remember, you're not getting any of those extra options. I really like that Argo with the XR series have given me the option of the base model at $59.99 US and $83.99 Canadian, or step up $700 US and $900 Canadian and get far more value for your dollar with the upgrades that I would want, and nothing that I don't. So I know I've spent a lot of time talking about value in this ATV, and that's because it's just so darn hard to overlook, but I also don't want to forget about performance and rideability. And with 7.5 inches of travel both front and rear, as well as 10.2 inches of ground clearance, the XR 500 SE is capable. It has a locking front differential for those really gnarly situations and will tow 1,000 pounds from its built-in 2-inch hitch receiver. Cornering on the trails is confident, while possibly being a slight bit stiff. However, this stiffness does deliver excellent ground clearance, and remember, it's only 24-inch tires. Braking is very solid with hydraulic discs all the way around, and acceleration as well as engine braking are both what you'd expect in this class. The engine isn't overly loud or producing undue vibrations, and overall, I really do feel like I'm getting a quality machine at a price that I just wouldn't expect this level of refinement. So I know that I make this thing sound near perfect, but there is one really obvious area that I would like to see Argo address. Tires. No, I'm not complaining about the brand or even the tread pattern or the ply. Actually, I'd be happy with this exact set of tires bumped up by 1 inch. Now, I will tell you, I'd take these Kenda Bear Claws over many of the competitors' 25-inch no-name or house brand tires, but if they were a 25, it would be just that much more in line with the rest in this category. Overall, I really don't have much bad to say about the XR 500 SE from Argo. It's a feature-packed, full-size ATV, and yes, it's four-wheel drive. Most importantly, it's value-priced. And when it comes to value pricing, darn, that's hard to find anywhere nowadays. Polaris's General XP had a major effect on the industry when it was first released because it offered a not yet attempted mix of sport and utility with the bias heavily on the sport side. And it took quite a while for the industry to truly respond to it, but finally both Yamaha and Can-Am did with the R-Max and the Commander. Still, the General XP is the OG in this class. But here's the thing, the General XP is also one of the Polaris side-by-sides that has gone the longest without a major overhaul or update. For all intents and purposes, it is very much the same mechanically as when it was first released. Updates have included extras like Rockford Fosgate stereos, ride command, wheels and tires, and likely the biggest updates it's seen over its lifespan has been the shocks. So here's the question of the day. Is the General XP still good enough to stand up against this competition, or has it fallen behind and is therefore in need of a major overhaul? The General XP came on the scene as an almost 70-30 sport utility side-by-side. Its suspension was heavily inspired by the Razor, yet it retained a large dumping cargo box with a 600-pound capacity and a 2-inch hitch receiver with a tow rating of 1,500 pounds. Its rider ergonomics are far more upright than a Razor, yet still more reclined than a Ranger, and it looks more like a little pickup truck than it does either a sport or utility side-by-side. Its ride quality, thanks to double A-arms front and rear that produce 14 inches of travel, was always very plush. Initially damped by a set of Fox QS3s, all three trim levels of the 2024 General XP are now damped by a set of Walker Evans Velocity Series shocks, which, make no mistake, are highly capable and adjustable top-of-the-line shocks. Powered by Polaris's 999cc twin-cylinder engine that makes 100 horsepower, the General always seemed to be just slightly on the edge of underpowered, yet not in a way that makes it not fun to drive. The Sport model, which is the most affordable General XP in the lineup, is still very impressively equipped and doesn't seem very base model at all to me. It's got the Walker Velocity shocks, 30-inch Pro Armor Crawler XG and XGF tires wrapped around 15-inch aluminum wheels, a sport front bumper, sport roof, and a 4,500-pound winch. Premium models like this one get Stage 1 Rockford Fosgate audio systems, rear view mirrors, and a padded center console. And when you upgrade to the Ultimate model, you get Stage 4 Rockford Fosgate audio and ride command. Now let's get back to our initial question. Is the General XP still a contender in its class? And the answer is an absolutely yes. The General XP still offers an exciting and playful driving experience that is, at minimum, every bit as good as its competition, but in reality, better in many ways. This class of side-by-side isn't really designed to slay trails at 60 miles an hour, but what it is designed for is spending long days in the driver's seat and at getting you into remote, more untouched locations in complete comfort. The high doors keep you clean and protected from debris. The 30-inch Pro Armor tires keep you hooked up and rolling over any obstacle, while the Walker Velocity shocks can be tuned to offer whatever level of ride quality you're looking for. Stiffer if you want to ride faster, or incredibly plush for the ultimate and all-day comfort. The large cargo box is also great at allowing you to take everything you could possibly need with you, no matter where you go. I've spent a lot of time exploring in a General XP, following dirt roads and trails I've never been down, exploring further than I've gone before, and finding new incredible places I've never seen. It's always been my go-to vehicle for rides where I'm not trying to burn the lugs off the back tires around every corner. I find I'm always impressed with how easy it is to have fun in the General XP, not just because it is fun to drive, but because it's so comfortable. And because it's so capable. It can be easy to forget just how functional the General XP is with its cargo box and 2-inch hitch receiver. At the end of a long day of ripping around on the trails, you can go home and still get some work done around the house. When you sit down and actually think about what most people do with their side-by-sides, it becomes pretty clear. The General XP is a way better choice for most non-desert riders than a Razor. Now with all that said, and while the General XP truly is great just the way it is, Polaris rarely lets a side-by-side model sit very long before they do an overhaul. Customers are constantly demanding newer and better, and the General has been the same for a very long time. Add to that the fact that with the introduction of the Expedition XP, Polaris now has multiple model options with incredibly similar specifications in a category once exclusive to the General XP. So here's my final question. Should Polaris give the General XP an update or a complete overhaul, or just leave it alone? From our perspective, an updated General XP with the updated style and mechanical underpinnings of the new Razor XP would be fantastic.
as would a bit more power and the option of dynamic suspension. But would this be enough to keep general buyers interested, or will the Expedition XP become the more attractive option?
Trail Tech is sponsored by Princess Auto. Make it work.
So Luke's been out testing the General XP 1000, a side-by-side that both he and I could see ourselves owning personally. But he did tell me that if he was gonna own this himself, there's a couple upgrades that he'd wanna do. So I'm gonna do just that for him, and then get his thoughts on what I've picked out. My budget is right around $3,000, and I'm gonna add a few accessories to help him not just have more fun, but have more fun longer, as well as get more done. Because the General truly is a workplace side-by-side. I did say get more done, so let's take a look at one specific accessory that I really like, and keep in mind that this part can be bought for all different varieties of Polaris side-by-sides. Rhino racks are super versatile. They're made of aluminum, so they aren't gonna rust, which also makes them a nice light add-on, but they have a crazy amount of accessories to add on and versatile uses. This is the rear bed rack, and it essentially gives you a second level of usable tie-down space for storage. Put the cooler up here and the tools down there, put the dry bags up here and the spare tire down there, vice versa, or anything you can think of. I made sure to give him some Rhino Rack eyelet tie-down points as well, as it makes strapping down gear all that much easier. Oh, and the rack tilts with the bed too, so you don't sacrifice anything. Now when it comes to having more fun longer, well that's easy. We gotta get a windshield on this General because here it's fall and it's starting to get pretty cold. And Polaris has got lots of options, but I went for the lock and ride, fully vented, hard coat poly windshield. It's light enough that I can put it on myself where glass can be a two-person job, and it has the full venting so that summer riding or warm fall days won't be an issue staying cool. It's lock and ride, so it goes on in seconds and likewise will come off with little effort if you don't want it on in the summer. It's also gasketed, so should you add more cab components, you're gonna be able to keep the elements out. Staying out longer is always something that we want to do, but factory headlights can hold us back just a little bit. A Pro Armor 31-inch dual-row LED light bar is what's needed and can be mounted right atop the roof to pre-marked holes. This is a combo LED bar, so it not only throws light down the trail, it also illuminates to the sides, so you're getting the most light in the widest pattern possible. Now Luke and I can get ourselves into some pretty interesting places with side-by-sides, so before he calls up and says, hey, can you replace the General's rocker plastics, I'm gonna just go ahead and add some protection. The Extreme Kickout rock sliders are just that, for sliding over rocks. We all want to push the limits of our toys, but the rocker plastics will catch, tear, or shatter depending on the time of year. And so these rock sliders that go on really easily to holes that are already in the frame of the General are not even an option, they're a must-have. Beat them up, no problem, that's what they're there for. If they get looking a bit too rugged, they come off easily and you can give them a rattle can tune-up and pop them back on in a matter of minutes. Now I know this install was pretty simple, but these are parts that I would want if this was my General and I was on a little bit of a budget. So now it's time to give it back to Luke and get his take on what I've done to it.
So I did the test ride on the General XP Premium Edition like this one here, and then AJ took it and he did some improvements to it in the Trail Tech shop. We'll start with the obvious, the windshield. Absolutely, when I was testing this unit, the thing I thought first was, man, I'd really like to have a windshield. A little chilly that day, and you know, pure Polaris windshield, they fit perfect, super easy to install, and they just are gonna keep you warmer, drier, cleaner, all of the above. The headlights on this are actually fine, but I really think having that extra light bar really suits this vehicle, as do these rock rails down here. I think this makes a lot of sense as well again. And then finally, we've got this awesome Rhino rack, double tier rack on the back. You know, it still tilts. You can still use your tailgate, 4 tie down points for holding whatever you want up here, but you could put a generator up here. You could put anything, man. So do I think this improved this vehicle? Absolutely I do. I think AJ did a great job picking these accessories for purposes that match the vehicle's use. If I was somebody who bought this vehicle, I think these are things I would do immediately after purchase. So good job, AJ, and you just made this thing even cooler.
Dirt Trax has been sponsored by Kawasaki. Let the good times roll. And BRP Performance Exhaust, built for the victory lap. And by Hercules Tire, ride in our strength.
Remember just a few short years ago when it felt like the off-road manufacturers had all but given up on ATVs? Recently though, it feels like there's renewed energy being invested in ATVs across the board, With Can-Am overhauling the Outlander lineup, Kawasaki finally giving the Brute Force a bodywork update, and this pretty little red number finally getting some hard-earned attention. After years of being overlooked for a complete restyle, including the complete overhaul of the Rubicon back in 2015, the Rincon actually disappeared from Honda's website a little while ago. This one got us a bit concerned that we'd seen the last of this machine. Then, like a good Hollywood comeback story, the Rincon was resurrected with new bodywork, some neat little updates, and an all-new title, the Rubicon 700. Out of the gate, you'll immediately notice these beautiful new plastics that just look fantastic in Honda's signature glossy red. Painted front and rear racks with a 99-pound and 187-pound capacity respectively, and this storage compartment integrated into the front rack seals tightly with a rubber seal and seems to be just big enough to store your wallet or some personal items. There's also this larger storage compartment located just below the shift lever. Up top, we've got this new LED light pod offering steerable illumination while navigating trails at dusk or on overcast days, and an all-new digital display. And although it's essentially just a black and white screen, it's bright, clear, and easy to read. My only gripe about it is its size, because it's no bigger than a credit card. My feeling is it could probably be twice this size, which would add significant value to this machine. Rounding out the newness, quite literally, is a set of 26-inch Maxxis tires wrapping around respectable-looking 12-inch blacked-out wheels that perfectly match the aesthetic of this ATV. This is a staggered tire setup with 8-inch wide fronts and 10-inch wide rears, and I have to say, this is the best-looking tire in this mid-board Japanese ATV category, with a really nice-looking side profile and an aggressive lug pattern. Under its seat, the Rubicon still uses Honda's iconic 675cc longitudinally mounted single-cylinder engine, mated to an automatic transmission with an hydraulic torque converter. It also features Honda's electronic shift program and 3 forward speeds operated by these buttons on the left handlebar cluster. We're reporting this engine at just shy of 40 horsepower, which would make it the least powerful in this class. That said, at regular trail speeds, you might not even notice the difference in output. Realistically, if you want a big bore, there's plenty of machines out there that will give you significantly more power. Though you might not get the same durability this machine provides. I would like to note though that I did ride this vehicle in both Auto and ESP, and I was impressed with both modes. Auto has been refined, and where on other Honda models I've found the vehicle searching for the correct gear in Auto, the Rubicon seems to have no problem finding exactly which gear it needed to be in at both casual trail speeds and beyond. ESP allows the rider to control shift points between 3 gears actuated by 2 separate buttons on the left switch cluster. It also allows the rider to control back shifting when cornering and braking. Our only gripe about this system is that under braking, the transmission doesn't automatically downshift if you forget to press the button, resulting in that bogging sensation until you manually find the correct gear. It seems like a small gripe, but we feel it would be a nice touch. And this shift lever right here, engaging drive, neutral, and reverse, is the smoothest shifter I've ever used. Seriously, gold star Honda, well done. The argument over a mechanical transmission versus a CVT is such a hot point. Clearly a CVT is the industry standard. However, it does have its downsides, including belt breakage and slippage. On the other side of that coin, we've witnessed firsthand the durability and longevity of a mechanical transmission in the Rincon line. Our resident mud expert and camera operator Graham Adams had his Rincon for 13 years, racking up 13,000 kilometers, and we just got back from riding with our friend Dane Caron, who piled on more than 126,000 kilometers. I honestly have to wonder how many other ATVs from other brands could do that. Honda deserves a lot of credit for the engineering that goes into its steering geometry. It feels precise and easy turning, especially for a non-assist steering system. But one update we can't get over is the exclusion of EPS, especially considering other Rubicons in this line are equipped with it. Power steering input is highest at slower speeds, and as speed increases, input is reduced. So at trail speeds, the Rubicon 700 handles just fine, except for the lack of absorption to steering controls when it gets unsettled from rock hits or ruts or roots in the trail. This is the only model of the Rubicon 700. While EPS isn't a necessity, it would be a welcome option. The Rubicon 700 features dual A-arm independent rear suspension and double wishbone front suspension, boasting 8 inches of travel out back and 6.7 up front, all sprung by basic emulsion shocks with zero adjustability. Under casual trail speeds and moderate terrain, the suspension was comfortable and compliant. However, when I cranked it up a little, I felt like these shocks were underdamped. I'd like to see Honda use a shock with a hair more adjustability, or have these current shocks undergo a bit more calibration from the factory for sportier riding. Size-wise, the Rubicon 700 can sit shoulder to shoulder with its competition in this class. Seat height is 36.3 inches, and I feel very comfortable in the saddle, and handlebar position feels just right. This ATV also features disc brakes at all 4 corners, actuated by dual brake levers and a foot pedal. It should be noted that its non-EPS competition in this same category all use a sealed rear wet brake, which is not my favorite, so the Ruby gets another smiley face sticker from me for going all discs. And although the updates to this particular machine may not be the full overhaul everyone wanted, the Rincon 700 is competitively priced against other non-EPS units in the Japanese mid-bore category, and its proven reputation for durability and reliability make this machine worthy of a closer look.